Hi everyone, this is Excel Chapter 2, Pause and Practice 2, first movie for that Pause and Practice. We're on page E2-112. We're still working on Paradise Lakes Resort. So we're working in this section on using Excel functions, both by using the kind of the wizard, or also by typing by hand, right? So we're going to work on filling in some of this data over here. So the first thing that we're going to do is on this K14, we want to put the total revenue in that. So the total revenue is the sum of each of the month's revenues. So we want to do the auto sum. So I'm on the home. We've done this before. We're going to click on that. But then Excel doesn't know where your numbers are, and so it has a null set here. So we're going to come over and we're just going to select and drag across through April through September. So that's B11 through G11. Make sure you don't include the column H. Notice what happens here. It says monthly revenue, right? Because remember, we named that range. So this is an example of where I could have typed that name. I could have picked that name from a list to reference those cells. I'm going to go ahead and do a check mark, and there it is. So this is a double check. 51,546, it matches this number, so we know we're doing good. Alright, so let's do K15. So this time we want to look at this average monthly revenue. So we need to figure out, first of all, where the revenue is, but for each month. That's still this same set of numbers, but instead of the total, we want to figure out the average. So the easiest way to do that is go up to where it says auto sum, but use the arrow to the right. And if you look at that, it'll show 5 common statistical functions that are used: sum, which we already know, average, a count of numbers, the maximum value, and the minimum value. And then there's a pathway to more functions. We want the average, and this works identical to the sum. So it says we're going to do, so the function here is equals average, and it's saying, okay, do you want to average K14? Well, no, I don't. I want to come back over here and select those cells again, B11 through G11. Once again, it changes it to monthly revenue, and I can hit enter. The value should be 8,591, so that's the average monthly revenue. So it took all of the total revenues for each month and it averaged it across. It's a very nice way of, instead of having, to do a real average, you'd add all these values and divide by the number of elements. Well, then when that element changes, or the numbers, you'd have to manually change that. Using the average function, it takes care of all of that. Alright, so then let's look at this one, maximum cabin revenue. So let's do this one manually. So we're going to start equal, right? And then the function is max, right? So MA, and look at what happens. We get a list of functions that are coming up. So I see the one that I want. I'm going to use my down arrow key to find that one, and this is a nice way to look, like you can read through, okay, returns the largest value in a set of values, okay, match, max A, does not ignore logical values in text. This one ignores logical values in text. That's what we want. So once I have that, I can hit the tab key, and it takes me, accepts that function, and it takes me into the area where I can select it. But look, we're not doing a whole monthly, we're doing cabin rentals revenues, right? So we got to come up here and find the cabin revenue. So that is this row 5. So we want to figure out which month, right? So we're going to do B5 through G5 to get the maximum cabin rentals. So I just hit enter. 8,700, that would be easy to check. So I'm just going to look, and sure enough, August, 8,700 is the maximum. That's the most that we got for cabin rentals. Make sure you don't include the totals. All right, so let's do min. Okay, so min, they want us to what are we doing here? Minimum tour revenue. So the tour revenue is one below the cabin revenue. So if I copy this formula down, it's adjusts for, you know, it's one below. So thinking relative, it's going to go one below where I'm that I referenced. So that's this row 6. So, but what it's doing here is the max, right? And if we look at this, yep, that's the max. But what we really want, look at what we're trying to do, is min. So I'm going to double click on there, and I'm going to change this from max to min. And now I was able to look at that, and let's see if that's the lowest. 750. Yep, that's it. Cool. That worked. So then wait a minute, what's going on? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I lost my my little capture tool. Okay, so we have one more of these that we're going to do, and that is a count. Okay, so before we do this, I want to talk about count. There are several different count functions, and there is, I believe, a chart on page 108. Count, just the function count, will count the number of cells that contain a value. So there's something in it, and that something is a number, right? So it only will do values. Remember, it's not a label. It's a value. So it couldn't have any words in it. Count A with an A on the end will count the cell if it's got anything in it. As long as it's not blank, it will count it. So letters, numbers, special characters, whatever. Count blank counts empty cells in a range, so it'll only return how many cells do not contain something. And then count if and count ifs are counts that allow you to count the value if a condition is met. And I'm going to kind of leave that here. We're going to get into that later, but I'm just going to throw that out there, but we'll talk about that in a later step. So on this, we want to know how many months. Well, this is the months: April, May, June, July. Well, those are letters, right? That's not a number. So I can't just use the count function. I have to use the count A function because I want to count it whether it's a value or a label. So I'm gonna start equal count, and then here, look, they all come up. Count, count A, count blank, count ifs, and contain numbers. I know that's not what I want. If I go down, cells that aren't empty, hey, that's what I want. So I'm gonna sit on here, tab, it's gonna put count in, and it's gonna let me pick. So I'm gonna pick April through September, hit enter. 6. There are 6 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It works. It is good. Okay, so the next piece, I'm not gonna run through every one of them, and it's down here. So let's select B11 through G11, and then look down here at your status bar, you're going to have your average, your count, your sum. These are what's known as auto calculate, like quick calc. So it's a really quick way to validate. And so boom, 8,000, we know we're right, we know we're right, okay? And then there's 6, so that's really good. We have one more function that I want to get to, and that is in cell A25, we want to put the today function. So we're going to get to the today function through the formula bar. So we're going to come up here to formulas, and the date function, today function is a date and time. So I'm going to pick that category. Look, there's lots of categories, and there's more categories that you can't even see. So we're going to do date and time. We're going to find today. So there's 2. There's now and there's today. The difference between today and now, today will return just the date. The now function will return the date and the time. So all I did was I picked today and I hit enter. That's all I did. Equal today, okay. Well, I just added 2 of them together. Get that out of there. And this is one of the functions that has no value supplied to it. It's a null. See that? There's just open and close parentheses. Okay, I'm going to save this. This is the end of Pause and Practice 2 for this chapter. Next movie will start with 3, which is a pretty long and complex one. All right, thanks.